We're diving into, well, a truly unique moment in music history. The day the Beatles met Elvis Presley.
Yes, the big one. August 1965.
Exactly. August 65 at Elvis's place over in Beverly Hills. This was like the ultimate summit meeting, right? British rock royalty meets the American king.
And it's crazy because it was the only time they ever actually got together. First and only.
Yeah. And despite, how unbelievably famous both acts were, the whole thing was kept completely under wraps.
Totally hush-hush. No press, no cameras, no recordings, nothing.
It's almost hard to wrap your head around that today, isn't it?
It really is. Imagine two stars of that magnitude meeting now in total secrecy.
Right.
Impossible. But back then, it wasn't just a photo op. It felt like more, like a real collision of two musical worlds.
Right. Elvis kind of laid the foundation.
And the Beatles just exploded onto it, building this whole new empire,
So the stories we have, they suggest the Beatles were, really anticipating this, maybe even a bit nervous.
Oh, definitely. Huge anticipation. Maybe some initial awkwardness, too, from what people have said.
Yeah.
But ultimately, you figured the music, that shared language, kind of smoothed things over.
Okay, so let's picture it. August 27th, 1965. The Beatles are in L.A. touring North America. They're staying at some mansion.
Holed up in Beverly Hills, yeah. And they had apparently been trying to arrange this meeting for a while.
Paul McCartney mentioned that, didn't he? That they'd wanted to meet Elvis for ages.
And apparently, Colonel Tom Parker, Elvis's manager, maybe saw them as a bit of a threat, which sounds wild now, but...
Wow, yeah. That really shows you the power shift happening in music right then.
It's fascinating, isn't it? Elvis was still the king, obviously, but his music career was sort of taking a backseat to the movies he was making.
Right, the soundtracks and all that.
Meanwhile, the Beatles were just this unstoppable global force, completely changing the game.
So even though they looked up to Elvis, their own success was massive. It makes for a really interesting dynamic for that meeting.
Absolutely. And the secrecy. Back to that. It's just incredible.
No media frenzy, nothing. Can you imagine?
Their press officer at the time, Tony Barrow, he talked about being in this limo convoy heading to Elvis's house. And he said Elvis's guys, the Memphis Mafia, just kind of waved them through the gates. No fuss.
That privacy, it suggests both sides wanted this to be like a real meeting, not just for show.
Yeah, not some PR stunt. Maybe there were sensitivities, too. Elvis protecting his image as this new wave came crashing in.
Could be. And the Beatles, okay, they were huge, but maybe still getting used to that level of sustained fame compared to Elvis, so private probably worked for everyone.
Makes sense.
So, okay, they arrive. John Lennon apparently described it as a big house, big Elvis, lots of people around, pool tables, like a private club feel.
And Elvis was just there, watching TV with the sound off, playing a bass.
Yeah, just casually strumming a bass guitar. And George Harrison remembered them driving around Mulholland, maybe having a few cups of tea in the car.
Right.
And almost forgetting where they were actually going. It kind of grounds them, doesn't it?
It totally does. These huge stars, still kind of giddy fans meeting their hero. But apparently the vibe was a bit stiff at first.
Yeah. Tony Barrow mentioned that, an embarrassing silence when they first got there.
Awkward.
Right. Until John Lennon, in classic Lennon style, just apparently broke the ice.
What did he say?
He supposedly asked Elvis something like, why are you making all these soft movie songs? What happened to the rock and roll?
Wow. Straight to the point.
You're going to admire the guts. And it kind of nails the change in Elvis's music then, moving away from that early energy.
That question tells you so much about where music was at that exact moment. The Beatles were all about that raw energy they first heard from him. And maybe Elvis was a bit taken aback. Or maybe that was just him. Jerry Schilling, one of Elvis's close friends, he backed up the awkwardness story. Said Elvis wasn't really used to having other big stars over.
Okay, but then music saved the day, right? That's the story.
Yeah, apparently Elvis sensed the tension and was like, look, if you guys are just going to sit and stare at me, I'm going to bed. Unless you want to jam. Something like that. Boom, guitars came out.
An impromptu jam session, that's the legend.
Well, here's where it gets a bit fuzzy. Tony Barrow remembered it vividly, said they played You're My World, even I Feel Fine. Ringo, tapping along.
Okay.
But later on, especially in the Beatles anthology, the surviving guys kind of downplayed it. Or even said, nah, a proper jam didn't really happen.
Huh. So, conflicting stories.
Totally. It shows how memory works, right? Especially for private stuff. Maybe it was just some casual strumming, not a full band thing.
It's like rock and roll history mystery. People still debate it online. Some point to what the Beatles said later. Others quote people who were there, like Chris Hutchins, who insisted they did jam.
Exactly. That uncertainty is part of the fascination, isn't it? What really happened behind those doors.
Keeps the legend alive.
For sure. And the fact that there are no recordings, no photos, it just lets everyone imagine it differently. But whether they jammed hard or just strummed a bit, it seems like music was the connection.
Yeah, Paul McCartney mentioned Elvis playing bass, joking about how Paul and Brian Epstein made him successful. You get a sense they did connect.
And everyone there wished someone had recorded it or taken a picture. Barrow joked it would be a multi-million-dollar piece of tape today.
Oh, easily. The fact that it doesn't exist just adds to the mystique.
It really does. People online still can't believe nobody snuck even one photo.
Theories fly around, right? Colonel Parker being controlling, maybe Elvis feeling a bit self-conscious, meeting the new guys, taking over the world.
And that's a fair point people bring up. Beatlemania had definitely shifted things. Even if Elvis was still massive, maybe he felt that change.
Could be.
And then you look at the music later, Elvis covered several Beatles songs, didn't he?
He did.
Mostly McCartney or Harrison songs, interestingly.
Yeah.
No Lennon ones in that list. Maybe just preference, maybe something else. Who knows?
But the influence went both ways, massively.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
The Beatles were hugely influenced by early Elvis. Lennon said hearing Heartbreak Hotel changed his life, made him want to do rock and roll.
Paul said the same. Their early stuff was built on Elvis's sound. They played his songs constantly starting out.
It's a perfect full circle. The students meet the master.
Yeah, a really fascinating cycle. So even with the slightly blurry details and initial awkwardness, that rock and roll connection was definitely there.
And looking bigger picture, you could kind of see it as a symbolic moment, right? Like a passing of the torch, almost. Well, Elvis was that first huge explosion of rock energy. And the Beatles took that energy and just made it this global thing, touching everything. So them meeting, even privately, acknowledges that line, that evolution.
That's a great way to put it. So this whole meeting, even without the proof, it tells us a lot about music connecting people, about the human side of these icons, the nerves, the respect, and just the huge shifts happening then.
Yeah, it really has.
It makes you wonder, though, what was the most significant impact of that meeting, even with no photos or recordings left behind? What do y'all think? Let us know down in the comments.
It's a great question. It's this moment frozen in time, really. Sparks so much thought about their legacies, Elvis and the Beatles. And maybe the lack of hard evidence is actually good. It lets us focus on the stories, the meaning, what it represented, leaves it to the imagination. A true rock and roll summit.
Absolutely. Well, that's our look back at the day the Beatles met Elvis, a story that, clearly still fascinates. Hope you enjoyed it.
Yeah, until next time, keep listening.
Thanks for tuning in. Remember to like and subscribe so you catch our next installment. Catch you next time.